On the field, it's been a good year for the Ontario PC Party. Doug Ford led it to an election win in June, just the third victory by the party in the last 37 years. But off the field, the party has been plagued by everything from nomination meeting irregularities to police investigations for fraud. Jim Karahalios was a candidate for the PC Party presidency at the convention earlier this month, and he joins us now with what he says is more evidence of more malfeasance. Jim, good of you to come in tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Why did you want to run for the PC Party presidency to begin with?
Well, I said after what we'd seen in the last 2 years, it was time for integrity, accountability, and transparency in our party. It was no time to go backwards. I had a lot of support from members in the party to keep our party moving forward. That's why I ran. You
had planned to have a meeting with Premier Ford to let him know you were running. What happened to that meeting?
Premier Ford's staff decided that the meeting wasn't going to take place. I'm not sure why.
But you showed up to his office?
I did show up to Queen's Park to meet with Premier Ford.
And what happened?
Premier Ford had to go, is what I was told.
So the meeting never happened?
The meeting never happened.
What did you interpret that to mean?
I think Premier Ford's getting some bad advice from some of his staff, is how I interpreted it, and an attempt to keep me apart from discussing with the Premier on why I was running for party president.
Well, on convention day, they did have a vote. And here's what your scrutineers told you was the final count. Brian Patterson, who you were running against, 663 votes. And there's you, Jim, with 607 votes for a total vote cast of 1,270. However, you were also told that there were 1,179 names registered and ultimately 1,345 votes cast. Now, that's three different numbers, and they should all be the same if things go according to Hoyle. So what's going on here?
So if I told you that I was running for party president and Premier's office staff, party headquarters, the convention organizers, and most of cabinet was against me, opposing my run, and I came out with those numbers 2% short, you'd say, that's pretty good. That's an impressive result. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to talk to you about a result in an election that I was in. I'm here to talk to you about voter fraud that happened at the convention.
You're sure that happened?
I am convinced that voter fraud happened, and all you have to look at is the evidence on the ground and the numbers that you have in front of you. On Saturday night at convention, registration closed at 7 p.m., meaning anyone who was elected as a delegate had to show up by Saturday night, get their badge, pay their fee, and sign in.
You see, you've got a badge right there.
I got a badge right here. This is what happened Saturday after 7 o'clock and Sunday morning. People showed up that were not delegates. The sticky goes on the badge, and all of a sudden, Steve Paikin, you're a voter at convention. Sunday morning, the vote starts. People cycled through the voting booths. Some people would come in with a badge. They'd get it clipped to show that they voted once. My scrutineers told me they'd reappear with a new badge, same name. People voted more than once on Sunday morning. People voted who were not on the voter list that we were provided on Saturday night, because on Saturday night, all the candidates received the voter list, 1,179 registered delegates ready to vote Sunday morning. The ballots were printed on regular stock paper in black and white. They were not accounted for, meaning at the end of the count, they could not tell us how many ballots they started with, how many were used, how many ended up in the ballot boxes. The reconciliation with the number of voters was not done. They tried to start counting the number of voters that voted at the booths. They got to, I think, 1,200. They couldn't get to the 1,345, so they stopped. Even more concerning, the ballots that were counted in the boxes were supposed to have the signature of the person, the election official at the polling booth. There were ballots in all the boxes that didn't have signatures of the individuals manning the booths, the election officials. So how do you come out with 1,345 ballots with 1,179 registered voters and evidence of people circling through the voting booths more than once and voting that are not on a list? What does that mean? That's voter fraud.
Now, presumably, when people showed up to vote with those badges and the stickers on top of them, which looks pretty unofficial, should the people who were running that election have turned them away and didn't?
Absolutely, or they should have documented the specific instances that happened. So during the vote, my scrutineers and other candidate scrutineers had so many objections to what was going on, you couldn't even count them. I sent, my lawyer sent the party lawyer a letter in the middle of the vote documenting it, and another letter later on in the evening. And we've requested from the party the ballots and the list of voters who voted at convention.
Well, let's follow up on that. Where are the ballots now?
I don't know. We've asked for the ballots. I can only assume the party lawyer has them. We asked for the ballots. We asked for the list of voters. We've gotten no response. The only response the party gave was a statement to the media that said two things. We stand by the results, but we're not showing you the results.
So they never announced those results at convention?
As far as I know, they refused to announce the results. And the second thing they said is the scrutineers at the vote didn't have any objections to what was going on. Well, that's a lie, because I have a letter from my lawyer to the party lawyer documenting what scrutineers were saying during the vote. So I don't know why they're doubling down on what they're saying in their statement and saying things that are factually not true.
Do you have any recourse at this stage? I mean, is there somebody you can appeal this decision to?
Internal party elections, there's no governance body overseeing what happens in an internal party election. But I find it troubling and ironic that I ran on a campaign to bring integrity, accountability, and transparency into the PC party. And in the election, there was no integrity, no accountability, no transparency. And I won the election handily, and someone else was named the winner.
How do you know you won handily?
If there's 1,179 voters on the registered voters, and I got 607 votes, that's more than 50%.
It is often the case at leadership conventions, maybe elections of this type as well, that once it's all over and done with, they burn the ballots. They just get rid of them. So I got to ask you, do you even know if the ballots still exist?
That would be outrageous, because when one lawyer sends a letter to another lawyer asking them to preserve the ballots or the evidence, you can't burn ballots that are evidence in a potential dispute.
Have you asked them where the ballots are?
We documented a letter to the lawyer saying, please preserve the ballots and let us know what the voter list looks like.
And you've hired a lawyer to look into all this for you?
Yes, obviously I have a retained lawyer, yeah.
How much is this going to cost you?
That's a concern, right? Because the onus is now on the individual when you have a process that's not transparent. Obviously, I spent money, and there were others that spent money on their campaigns. I'm not the only one that's affected here. There were three other candidates, Hayden Foss, Michelle Simard, Mary McNeil, all ran for vice president positions. They all should have won if those extra ballots didn't make their way into the ballot boxes. And look, the other thing here is 1,000+ delegates that attended convention. They each paid $300 plus hundreds of dollars in travel and accommodations to participate in what they thought was going to be a fair election, a fair vote. And they got defrauded out of a fair process and their hard-earned money to participate in a convention that ended up like this.
Okay, don't take this the wrong way.
Go ahead.
But you've been here before, and we know each other a little
Right.
bit, so I know you'll take these questions in the spirit in which they're intended. You're a well-known pain in the neck in the party, right? I mean, you're the guy who was the one guy who, when Patrick Brown was leading the party and wanted to bring in a carbon tax as part of the platform, you brought this Axe the Tax platform forward, and you won at the end of the day, right? You managed to get the carbon tax out of the platform, but you ticked off a lot of people in the interim. Are you at all, I guess the question is, you can't be surprised that the brass of the party wants you to lose. Is that fair to say?
You watched the leadership convention, the leadership race.
Yep.
The ideas that I was writing about in Axe the Carbon Tax and Take Back Our PC Party, they got 100% support. 100%. You watch this presidential campaign, my platform was adopted by my opponent. 100% support. If there's a small group of a handful of people in the PC party that refuse to watch our party be governed with integrity, accountability, transparency, and in accordance with the party constitution, it's not me who's the pain in the neck. It's them that are the pain in the neck to the party members at large that want to see the party governed in accordance with what I've been campaigning on, and they want to see what's happened in the last 2 years put behind them and our party move forward. But there's a small group that are just holding on and refuse to see things move forward and change.
Before you put the sticker with my name on top of that badge said Brenda Karahalios.
Belinda Karahalios.
Belinda, excuse me, Belinda, who is your wife.
She is.
Who is the MPP for Cambridge. I wonder if at any part during any of this, she went to you and said, Jim, you're going to screw my future with this party if you keep this up.
My wife has a job to do. She was elected as the PC MPP in the riding of Cambridge, and she's doing a great job. And I have a job to do. That was to represent party members and party delegates and move the conversation forward in our party to ensure that we don't go back to what we saw in the last 2 years. And unfortunately, I just ran an election where we saw the same fraudulent efforts take place again. And so she's doing a great job, and I'm doing a great job. But look, when it comes to caucus, it's not just about my wife. If you're in caucus, Steve, and you're an MPP, and nomination rules are going to be set, and you see that there's a small group at PC party headquarters or in the Premier's office that are willing to go to the lengths to rig a presidential race at a convention, don't you think they'd be concerned? If they have to go through a nomination race in the future and they don't know that that nomination race is going to be held with integrity, accountability, and transparency?
Well, here's what I've heard, and I should say for the record, we reached out to Brian Patterson, who, at least for the public record anyway, won this presidency, and didn't hear back from him, so he's not, that's one reason he's not here.
It's not, you know, Brian was a contestant in the race, but we're talking about the people that ran the election. We're not talking about
so
Brian.
here's what I'm hearing about that. What I'm hearing is, you're a well-known social conservative in the party, you represent that wing of the party, and they don't want the social, whoever they is, all the other non-social conservatives, the part of the PC party membership that wants to keep social conservatives in a box, they didn't want you to win because they don't want you to have that kind of platform to advance those kinds of issues. Now that's what I'm hearing.
That's
Do you think
laughable.
that's accurate?
That's
Not
laughable. I ran a campaign for president on following our party constitution and on democracy. That's what I ran for party president on giving every party member the right to vote. And my supporters and my campaign team were made up of people right across all the different ideological views of our party. I had supporters that supported Christine Elliott, Caroline Mulroney, and Doug Ford in the leadership. And regardless of whether you like my campaign style or whether you like the way I run campaigns, none of that justifies voter fraud. You don't like the way I campaign. You don't like that I call out 21 people on Brian Patterson's slate for being lobbyists and coming back from the prior executive. You don't like that I hold people to account. That's fine. You don't like my position on the carbon tax. That's fine. But that doesn't justify voter fraud. I had people on my campaign team for president that don't agree with me on the carbon tax, didn't agree with me on disagreeing with Patrick Brown, but they wanted to see the party governed in a fashion that's in line with the party constitution. And look, that's the new criticism of the day. The other criticism during the presidency race was I was calling for a revolution. It's not a revolution. What I was calling for was the party constitution.
Okay, I get you, but and down to our last 30 seconds here.
Okay.
But alleging voter fraud is a tough thing to do. I mean, you're alleging an illegality here.
Yes.
You feel comfortable saying that?
There was a cabinet minister who brought his wife in on Saturday night after registration closed and received a member observer pass. And the staffer of that cabinet minister asked, can they be a delegate? And they were handed a delegate badge even though they were not an elected delegate. And if we're talking about caucus, I'm very disappointed in individuals in our caucus like Rod Phillips, Caroline Mulroney, Christine Elliott, who've been in the PC party for their entire lives and who believe that the institution of our party is more important than being embarrassed by their preferred candidate not winning an election. And something has to be said about how elections are continually being run in our party. Because when the numbers don't add up and you have evidence, eyewitness behavior of people doing illegal things, that's just not acceptable.
Okay. Needless to say, we will continue to watch this with interest, so keep us posted.
Thanks, Steve.
That's Jim Karahalios, a former candidate for the presidency of the PC party.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.